It's basically how wash.
Alright, I'm gonna make another video on the knife scabbard part 2. So let me turn the camera around here. Okay, we're turned around. Here's the knife, the first knife scabbard I made, and it was too small. I wasn't happy with how small it was to get my knife into it. So just right at this point right here, I could see that my knife was going to start cutting the that little hole right there. It was going to start cutting the thread. Well, when I lay it on this one right there, I got like way too much room. It's way too big. So I think I've got enough room here to cut all of these rivets off, and then I'm going to use this piece, which I should have done in the first place, as a spacer in there, so that the knife blade is going to want to hit the edge of leather before it hits the strings, because I've already cut through my strings. I've done these like this before and they've worked fine, but this particular one, the way the shape is, my knife went down, cut the strings. I did heat them up and kind of melt them back together there. Man, that thing's not focusing worth beans. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut all these off, use this one of these pieces here as my spacer right there. I'm just gonna cut along there. I'll have to re-punch it, and then I'm gonna sew that piece of leather in between here. And then I'm gonna address this a little bit. I'm gonna cut this back and trim that down, and this other side as well, and get a little bit of shape. You can kind of see my lines there that I've made where I want to cut those. So yeah, I'm gonna start working on this, and I'll update you as I go, being that my whole system is based on this iPhone. The app on it is called Clips, and sometimes I just use my camera and upload from my camera, and sometimes I upload from Clips. And then I bought this other Filmmaker Pro for 35 bucks a year, and it totally sucks. I can't figure it out. I don't know that it sucks. I suck at using it, that's for sure. But it does have some features that are better, but it seems like it's more complicated, and I just can't figure it out. So that's what I'm gonna start on, and I'll update you as I go. Okay, so I figured out something interesting. If I only cut halfway through the holes, it gives me a spot to line up my new set of holes like a marker, but it also gives me the ability to use that notch to have my crisscrosses sit down in. Maybe that won't work, I don't know. I'll have to think about that as I'm sewing it up, but it definitely gives me an area to line up my new holes. It kind of gives me the spacing that I want, even though I just eyeball my holes anyways most of the time. But I've trimmed it up, shortened it up a little bit. I got the back strap trimmed. It's not as pretty, but pretty never meant anything to me. I mean, it's all about function, so that's what we're working on. All right, so I've learned something. Okay, I've got my piece of leather in there that will keep the knife from cutting through the string I got there, the yarn or whatever you call it, that nylon lace. And then I have decided to do segments and tie them off and burn them. That way, if I cut a segment, this segment's still holding. And I can replace it later. So I'm down to my last little segment here. I think I've got 1, 2, 3. So if any one of those individually gets cut, yeah, they'll come unfrayed, but the rest of the sheath will hold together. Oh, this thing's got terrible focus right now. That is so frustrating. Is that my eyes, or is that... Sheesh, man. Yeah, so I'm down to just my last little bit of stitching here, and the knife is fitting very nicely. Yeah, I've made all these rough edges now, and it's not nearly as pretty as it was. And I've got the three sealed up, and there it goes. There it goes. Sealed up and stitched together, or melted. I melt that nylon yarn in there, and then I'll just do this top section. And I've already pre-fitted it, kind of holding this, and it really holds the knife in well. So pretty happy with it. Let me finish this off and I will update.
No matter what, have changed their policy because you could raise a lot more.
All right, so here it is. I finally got that last bit stitched up. There's a splice. So I've got 4 separate sections of string there, and if any one of them breaks, the rest is kind of holding it. Now you can see that the knife is now going to hit. Come on, focus in there. It's going to hit that piece of leather before it hits the string going through it, the yarn, the stitching. This thing just does not like to focus on this app. This is that Clips app. It's built right into your iPhone. It's really cool. I like it. It just doesn't focus out here at night very well. Now when I put my knife in there, now, like before I could see the blade in there, I was like, oh man, I know it's cutting that. And those holes will close down on this leather. That leather they'll close up to smaller holes, because these were those bigger holes before, because that's the way I punched it. There it goes. But now this thing does not fall out of there. I trimmed this down. I know in the first video I said I was going to put a string off of it, and I'm a liar, so I didn't do that. But now I've got that thing to where it's just not gonna fall out of there. It's just not gonna freaking fall out of there. It's like, at all. So I'm way happier with it now. I've got that piece of leather sewn in there. I've got it spliced together in several sections. In case you lose a section, you just go back in and stitch it up. My stitching is a double at the end and then a crisscross all the way down. Just a punch and some leather. I trimmed the back up. Yeah, it's all wavy gravy. Way more functional than it was. It looked nice and neat before. And so yeah, I'm real happy with it. Thanks for watching, guys.